Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you with us right here at Let's Talk Energy Power On, where today we are talking about all things large scale. We are going to be talking about the exciting world of repowering, drivers and potentials to revamp and increase plant performance. I would like to introduce you to my two interview partners for this session. Please welcome the head of the business unit product group large scale, Bernhard Schütz. Bernhard, great to have you with us.
Hello, Kimsey. Thanks for being here, and welcome to everybody out there who joins us today for these talks. And I'm also very happy that we have another speaker here on this session, our customer, Mr. Andreas Voyles, who will be later referring to in the presentation on some interesting details you may be also interested in.
A truly and very special guest, because he's an external guest during these sessions today. So Andreas Voyles, great to have you here with us today. How are you feeling?
Hello, Kimsey. I'm feeling good, and I most expected what it happened.
Okay, fantastic. So just a little information at this part. So this next session is going to be a little bit different than the other sessions. It will be in English, but parts of it will be in German. So Andreas Voyles is going to hold his presentation in English, but if there's questions for him, then we're going to translate them into German. So it's a little bit German, a little bit English. And with that, let's talk about repowering within SMA. So Bernhard, let's start with an overall, a rather general question, because maybe not everybody knows exactly what is repowering. Can you enlighten us?
Yes. With every system in operation, you always have some kind of wear and tear. So same applies to all electrical installation, such as PV plants or storage or whatever have you. And in a certain time, you need to exchange components. Now, the question is always 10, 15, 20 years, what do? Are you just replacing one by one? Or you want to really repower or revamp your installation. So update technology, update to new features, make different use of your asset. No? And repowering is something that we have frequently seen being demanded by customers. So since 2018, SMA has a dedicated team that goes after these customer requests and looks for a solution that we can then offer and implement, hopefully.
Now, you mentioned revamping. Where's the difference between repowering and revamping?
Yeah, it's not just nomenclature. It's really a difference. Revamping normally refers to less changes, so smaller changes, maybe just part of the installation, while repowering, you're really looking for getting more out of the asset and getting new features into it. So revamping more refers to replacing one by one. Repowering is something completely new.
And what are the main benefits for the customers?
Normally there are 4 to 5 different causes, but always the same around the globe. Now it's either the original manufacturer is not available anymore that installed the plant or the inverter. That's the main cause. Bad service sometimes. The spare parts are basically as expensive as the new technology. So you have a choice in investing in old parts or buying something completely new. And of course then availability services and different features. Now, storage, we heard a lot about storage coming up. So maybe you want to add storage to your old PV plant. And most of the old inverters can't do that. But if you repower with a new device, you can then add that feature and make different benefits out of it. No?
Okay. And with that, we'll go to Andreas Voyles. I'll pose the question in English, but I can also pose it in German. Bernhard introduced you as a customer, a favorite customer, you told me earlier. Can you describe a little bit your relationship to SMA?
Yes, we have been in business since 2006, and SMA are our reliable partner from day one.
And you have completed a repowering project with SMA in Elmenhorst. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Take a look at the slides at our repowering project in Elmenhorst, Germany. We have a big problem. Our competitor no longer active on the German market, and the spare parts are no longer available. High failure rates of the inverter subunits were happened, and high level of service personnel for replacing this are necessary. Permanent loss of earnings due to the lack of spare parts, and there was no solution inside. 11% and 2.6 megawatt less yield per year and increasing. The solution, 2 inverter stations with 1.3 megawatt and 4 inverter stations with 2 megawatt are converted to 6 SMA SC 2200. The benefits, the software adaptation of the SMA Sunny Central to the plant-specific grid voltage, what very wichtig.
Important?
Important. The mains transformer, also very important, the mains transformer, the low voltage main distribution, and the medium voltage switch gear still in use. Very important. Available spare parts from now on. Also benefits, reduction in service personnel and increase in yield through better efficiency of the new inverters. And now the operations are planned for more than 20 years with the technology of SMA.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting. So my question to you is, when does repowering pay off? Ab wann lohnt sich denn es zu repowern? And when is the best time to repower a PV plant? Also wann ist der richtige Zeitpunkt gekommen, eine Solaranlage zu repowern?
Also wenn die Kosten steigen, ja, für einen Solarpark, dann sollte man sich schon Gedanken machen über Repowering und es auch so bald als möglich ausführen. Und der beste Zeitpunkt dazu ist natürlich, wenn man bemerkt, dass die... Du hörst mit?
Ja.
Wenn man bemerkt, dass die Performance des Parks dementsprechend sinkt. Ja? Und dann übersetze es erstmal.
So, the first part Mr. Wolf referred to was when maintenance costs are increasing, when you see increased costs to maintain the current system, would it be service or spare parts, or the availability of spare parts hits you, then it's a serious point in time you should think of repowering.
Genau. Und ab dem Zeitpunkt ist es für den Betreiber sehr wichtig, dass er den Verlust sehr genau im Monitoring im Blick hat und dass weitere Verschlechterungen im Monitoring im Detail ganz genau beobachtet werden.
Yeah. In the ideal point for the time of repowering, Mr. Wolf refers to the downwards trend in yield. So once you see that your energy yield of your plant goes down, and that requires active monitoring of your performance of the plant, then it's the time to repower and as soon as possible to regain that feed-in tariff and continue earning money with your asset.
Und das betrifft alle installierten Komponenten auf dem Park, hauptsächlich auch, also nicht nur die PV-Module, sondern hauptsächlich auch sollte man einen Blick auf die Wechselrichter haben.
And that just not only implies to the solar panels that of course degrade with time, but also the central equipment, which is the inverter. If the inverter is down, the output would be zero.
So the next question, also in German. Now, we talked about monitoring now for a minute, but how do customers recognize when it's time for repowering? Nicht wann, sondern wie merken die Kunden das dann, dass der Zeitpunkt gekommen ist, dass Repowering anstehen sollte?
Das ist eben genau das Monitoring im Detail, das man sehr genau im Blick haben sollte, weil man gewöhnt sich von Jahr zu Jahr an Zahlen, ne? Und man sollte aber immer das gesamte Projekt in seiner gesamten Laufzeit im Blick haben und dann sehr genau im Detail schon mal nachsehen, ob man in Zukunft dann entsprechende Entscheidungen treffen kann.
So the input is here, when is exactly the point to watch for and what to watch for, and we had monitoring. So it refers to really tracking closely the performance of your asset and compare it to what was originally planned. As Mr. Wolf refers to, it's easily to get accustomed to different numbers, and then you don't look as closely on the difference, what should be and what really is. But that is one key feature that tells you exactly when your performance is degrading, and then you should think of repowering.
Which components are suitable for repowering, Bernhard?
Basically everything. I mean, that would come to a complete rebuild of the plant, but of course you start with the modules. If modules have failures, you want to exchange them under warranty, hopefully. Cabling is less expensive, but then you have the DC combiners, you have the inverter, of course, and also transformers and MV switchgear. So basically the whole chain of the power production in a PV plant you could assess, and also there we offer services to make a performance analysis of your plant and then really decide which is the sequence and what gives you the best efficiency in exchanging these components. And the advantage of repowering is you don't have to do it all at once. So you can do one inverter at a time, so your impact on operation is really reduced.
You can still keep everything going.
Here I would like to mention our Italian team. They have quite performed very well. They can repower in 24 hours. So you start 9 o'clock in the evening, the other day you produce again.
Wow. Now our topic today, of course, is large scale. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges? What challenges are you facing when you're repowering large scale PV plants?
Yes. The problems are actually not with the big machinery, with our inverters. The problem is always adapting new technology to an installed system. For example, communication is always, the last 10 years, communication have done big step forward. So it's a lot of customization on that end that needs to be done ahead of time. And that's what we also do. Normally we go assess the plant, do even site visits, and then come up with 2 or 3 proposals that involves more customer or less customer action. So he can choose what is his appetite of risk, and also, of course, the
It's a great expression.
the economical impact on him. You know? We can do everything out of one hand, but he also can participate, and with that he can, of course, lower the costs of the repowering.
Let's talk about sustainability for a second. How does repowering affect sustainability, Bernhard?
Sustainability is a big topic in SMA. For us, sustainability doesn't just stick with one component. It starts when you design a plant, for example, until it's be turned back to the urban landscape it was before there was even something. Sustainability means all the energy that goes into one system and the efficiency on maintaining it. So repowering is an essential part of prolonging the life of an existing plant, and with that keeping it more sustainable, the initial investment, but also the landscape. You don't have to dig up things or replacing things. So by replacing the inverter, keeping it another 20 years alive, as Mr. Wolf just referred to, your plant is exceeding 20 years of lifetime easily. And you could repeat that cycle at the end of that again. So we're talking about 20, 40, maybe 60 years of use of the PV field now. And that is something I think the investment initially has not thought of. So it could have great benefits once the PV plant is paid off. You just replace the component that's damaged
And keep
with
on.
new technology and keep on earning money.
Mr. Wolf, how can repowering improve plant performance? Wie kann durch Repowering die Performance einer Anlage gesteigert werden?
Ja, also der sichere und zuverlässige Betrieb ist halt ganz wichtig. Ja? Und allein durch den Einsatz neuer Technologien, die ja in der Regel eine wesentlich bessere Effizienz haben als alte Technik, ist das schon so gegeben, dass man allein durch die Erneuerungsmaßnahmen einen höheren Wirkungsgrad hat. Und ganz wichtig dabei ist, dass man bei so einer Erneuerungsmaßnahme einen zuverlässigen Partner hat, der einem da auch bei technischen Fragen und bei Problemen entsprechend unterstützt.
Thanks. So for the translation, Mr. Wolf, he is also, the slide maybe shows the points up here, but he, as a key figure for repowering, he indicates again the uptime. So uptime is critical for, of course, the energy yield of the plant. You don't want to have your inverter dropping out at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when you have the most sun out there. No? So one time is uptime. If you have then also what we see in the market, that competitors go out of the market and in of the market. You can't get any more the spare parts for your inverter. And the liability. Do you have constant service, or do you have a fresh guarantee? With repowering, you get a new factory warranty. You pay nothing for 5 years. You get all repairs for free. So that's something you most likely cannot get for older equipment. So there are multiple points that help you keep the costs down And with the new technology comes a better efficiency normally and a more stable operation. So it's safety, it's stable operation, it's reliability, and it's new features that you buy with repowering.
Kommen wir noch einmal auch bei Ihnen zur Nachhaltigkeit, Sustainability. The next question from Mr. Wolf. Ist Repowering denn eigentlich der nachhaltigere Weg, die Technologie abzugraden?
Ja, selbstverständlich, weil man hat hier die Chance, an einem im Betrieb befindlichen Park in einem hohen Fokus zu investieren und den Park dann Schritt für Schritt nacheinander so zu aktualisieren, dass er wieder die Leistungsfähigkeit erreicht, die man sich wünscht.
Sounds pretty good. So you plan to continue with SMA to repower that project?
Yes, of course.
The next deals are being made while we speak. Very nice, Bernhard.
Okay.
Do you want to translate?
Yes.
Yes, so Mr. Wolf mentions also the possibility to partial repower, to just do one step at a time, see what the effect is, if it really comes out as expected, and then continue as you want to invest. So you also can adapt basically the repowering to your cash flow. That you
And
have
it's a
in your-
sustainable
You don't need
one.
a big investment at once, you can do it step by step.
And also in Deutsch, es ist halt die Chance, einen Park so zu aktualisieren, dass man also wesentlich länger als 20 Jahre betreiben kann.
Yeah, that's the idea. No? We generally give 20 years on our equipment of guarantee and spare part supply, and after that you could replace it with another 20 years of operation. And most of the older plants don't have that possibilities.
Yes.
So let's take a quick look at a film. Bernhard, you brought us a film, right, from France?
Yeah, it's a repowering project that was done last year in France, and I hope you enjoy it.
So, okay. You might have brought the film, but it didn't make it quite quite to us.
No problem.
But maybe you
basically-
can tell us about the project.
Yes. So let's see. The slides are in here. For that project, we used our technical engineering services to assess the whole plant. It was a third-party inverter, not ours there. And the customer had several problems. Again, the original manufacturer was not anymore in business. There was no spare parts to get or very expensive. And so we used our engineering services, looked for different solutions. And it was actually, at the end, the biggest challenge was the noise problem. As there were, meanwhile, houses close by. Before, it was a different situation. Now we had to be sensitive to noise, and we had to modify the inverters so the noise goes down and the people would not complain about the new technology. So we used engineering services. We implemented it there with our local service in France, and that's the advantage of having a global network. You can pull in local resources that keeps the cost down. And of course, this customer has now a new 5-year warranty, an uptime guarantee, and he can rely on SMA is the oldest company in the business on next 20 years to get everything he needs.
And he has a quiet solution also.
He has a quiet solution. The neighbors are happy. This is a statement from another customer that we see here. So they have done various projects with us, and we just don't do large scale. We do every kind of inverter, from a small string inverter on your house to commercial installations, but also to big multi-million-dollar projects. And I just can announce now, we closed last week a deal in Australia where we are replacing a competitor product that's just 2 years in operation on a 150 megawatt plant.
But
The customer doesn't pay 1 cent. It goes on the guarantee of the other manufacturer. So now our competition has to pay us for putting our products in place. I mean,
it's a win-win-win situation.
cannot get better than that now. And here again, a slide that shows the strength of SMA. We are pulling our PV experience out of over 38 years in the business now. We have customized services and customized hardware. And that's one of the biggest challenges in repowering, that you adapt the new piece to the old system. So it always needs modifications. And of course, we have our experienced staff, but the life cycle can be extended up to 20 years more. And we have future-proof solution.
Great. So having said that, I think if you are ready, we're going to move over to our Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions that you would like to ask Mr. Wolf, the customer, or also Bernhard Schütz from SMA, you can pose these questions at any time by just typing them in right here into our interactive area. And we're headed over to Q&A right now. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Q&A session right now during repowering. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask Mr. Wolf or also Bernhard Schütz from SMA, then now is your time. And I'm looking on our screen and we've got quite a few questions already. Bernhard, if you're going to be so kind to translate them so that they're technically 100% correct for when the questions are from Mr. Wolf. So here we go. How does SMA help with the certification for the plant?
So we have our own certification department, of course, and we consult our customers in regards to different certification requirements. And it's pretty different landscape in Europe. So in Spain, you have to watch out for different things than in Italy, than in Germany. But we help with that. We can consult on that, yes.
Okay. So it's also one-stop shopping here. Everything, literally everything one could think
Customers
about
no
is
easier
being...
way than call SMA.
Fantastic. Is SMA able to provide for different power classes, voltages?
Yes, and specifically on the old inverters and the old PV field, you sometimes have just 600 volt. That was 10 years ago the standard. Now we are 1500 volt. So we have to modify our current devices down to adapt to those low voltages, and yes, we can do.
Yes, we can. Is there a specification or standard associated repowering the plant, such as IEEE?
Normally, it depends on the scope of your repowering. And there's the phrase out in industry, before and after the meter. Normally, some countries like the US, they accept everything as long as you don't touch the metering station and the medium voltage. So it is very important to leave as much as the old one of the medium voltage there and just adapt from the inverter to the DC field. And that's what we are doing. There is the new repowering must comply with actual standards. So we don't go back to the old standards. Our new device is up to date on code, and with that we are fulfilling the new code as well. So even in questions of certification, it would be interesting to implement this new technology to get the certification up to standard.
Okay. The next question is for you, Mr. Wolf, if you're ready, but it's an easy one, and I think I'll be able to translate that also. So the question is, how old was Mr. Wolf's solar farm? Did he also replace the PV panels? Wie alt war Ihre Anlage und haben Sie auch die Paneele ausgetauscht?
Also die Anlage ist von 2009. Das heißt, wir befinden uns jetzt gerade erstmal bei 50% der geplanten Laufzeit und denken natürlich jetzt schon über das Repowering nach. Das ist ganz wichtig, dass man sich sehr frühzeitig Gedanken macht. Und wir haben die Module nicht ausgetauscht. Die sind alle noch innerhalb der Werte und auch in der Leistungsgarantie. Ja, und deswegen haben wir die Solarpanels so weit gelassen. Ja.
So
please translate.
So he built his solar plant in 2009. So what he mentioned, he's just about half in the plant time of the original manufacturer, and now he had to replace the inverters with ours. That is to consider. So it could be, as I said earlier, in Australia, up to 2 years after installation of original. So this is 10 years, 11 years after the original installation. And then the second part of your question, answer? Der zweite Teil
die
war?
Leistungsgarantie ist noch erreicht, ja, deshalb haben wir die Module nicht ausgetauscht.
Yes. In the panels, they did not replace the panels because they were still in the original guarantee and they're fulfilling the promises of that guarantee, so they didn't exchange the panel, just the inverter.
Do you have independent type tests of your products?
Yes, we do. If per requirement, we do field UL tests, for example, in the US. It comes at the cost, of course. So normally it's a part of negotiations with the customer, but normally customer pays the field certification and we provide all the documentation and tests that are necessary.
Okay. Where do you see a trend for repowering in which countries?
Yes, this is a very good question. It goes for the market. The main markets today is US and Europe because they are the oldest installations. No? In Europe, in Germany, we started 2000, 2001 with bigger scale installations. No? So about 20 years now. But the US has a lot of, in a short time, did a lot of advantages in technology. From 2005 to 2010, the US changed completely their technology, and this old technology is now obsolete. So there's a big, about 4 gigawatt market in the US that is up for repowering, and we go after that, of course.
Of course. When lifetime of inverters, nearing
Nearing end, I guess.
is ending, I guess,
Yeah.
or yeah. What is SMA recommending? Whether to further extend the warranty based on performance of the inverters, or to repower the system with new inverters? That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's again an investment question, and you want to look at it from different angle. There's normally not just one reason, as also Dr. Andrea Voyles mentioned before. So one is the uptime, one is the part supply. You want to look at it from different angle, but it also the question is, what do you want to do with this power plant the next 20 years? Are you envision a different model? Are you business model? Maybe you want to do grid support. Maybe you want a frequency control. All these new features that are now being paid for by the grid. Maybe you want to capture on them, and then it's worthwhile to rethink what was your original idea for the plant, and what can you do now with your asset if you put this feature on.
It's an important thought to keep in mind. Is SMA able to provide repowering in all countries?
Yes. Yes, we are globally distributed. We have 20 SMA entities all over the world in the major market, but we have a service network that covers 130 countries. Of course, we have some black countries that we are no-go. That's Syria, for example, where there's a war. So we don't go there, but everything else, basically, we can serve.
And do you also offer repowering for string inverters?
Yes. Yes, there's actually a more easier app for string inverters. There's something called Repowering app or installed app for installers and for commercial units. And you just type in what inverter you have, and it gives you the choice of SMA products that fit one-to-one. So it's a plug and play. And if anybody has questions about that, please contact your sales guy or anybody in SMA in sales, and they will guide you to the right application.
So we still have a little bit under 3 minutes. So if you, dear viewers out there, have some repowering questions that Bernhard or Mr. Wolf can answer for you, now is your time. We can still take these questions for another 2 minutes, but also, of course, if you have questions that sometimes, they come up later on in the day, you can, of course, also post them in the interactive area then, or send us an email, and those questions will be answered then, of course, also. So I think, well, we're going to wait a couple more moments, but I think you really answered. You answered all the questions. There was a lot of yeses, I heard. So that's, of course, the great news. Now, if you would have to summarize sort of what we just heard in the last 30 minutes, the pros of repowering, why is it so important, sustainable, and all that, if you could give us a key message there.
Yeah, I mean, the best example is always customer statement. They are happy after repowering. It's always a risk. You have to do an investment in an active system. So what you want to rely on is you have a company that understands what you want to do with your asset and the technology you had there 10 years ago. So you want to adapt that to the best suitable thing. It's like putting big new tires on an old car. It doesn't run faster just because of big tires. You want to maybe look at something else, It maybe looks good, but you don't get the effect you want to.
No.
So it's the same with industrial application. You want to look at everything, and we can provide with our 500 experts in engineering, we can look at every aspect and make you different proposals. So you want to also make sure, what are the new opportunities in the market? Can you do something else with your plant? Can you do grid support? When you add storage? So what is the next 5 to 10 years looking at the field you want to be busy? And we take a holistic approach on that. And we look at it from different angles. And if you want to participate in the repowering, be welcome. We are not too keen to do everything ourselves. If customers have their own crew, we can teach them even. And that's our new program. We're going to talk a little bit later about that, but I give you a little teaser now. Customer service is top center for us in SMA. And we empower our customers to repair it ourselves. So with the new technology, there comes a wealth of trainings that your own people can help themselves, and you can increase your uptime to 99.5% without problems. We have seen that in different countries in the world, even India, where we have pretty reliable operation in the harshest condition.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute. One quick, very short question to finish off. Who do I contact if I'm interested in repowering? Bernhard, what number do I call? Where do I?
You can call my number, of course, but you can also go to any sales agent in SMA or bernhardschütz@sma.de.
Is your inbox ready for lots of requests?
I hope so. Yeah, and we will definitely give you an answer as soon as possible.
Okay, and Bernhard can also answer the last question: how long do repowering projects take? I guess you can maybe answer that question via email, because it sort of probably also depends on the size.
The fastest we have done is 12 hours on a large-scale inverter, where it fit one-to-one our competitor product, but we started at 7 o'clock in the evening. At 9 o'clock the other morning, the inverter was producing.
So very fast. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Vielen Dank, dass Sie sich die Zeit genommen haben, um heute mit uns hier zu sein und die vielen Fragen zu beantworten und Ihre Situation zu schildern. Vielen Dank, Herr Wolf.
Vielen Dank, Herr Wolf, dass Sie da waren.
Bernhard, thank you so much for answering all the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers at Let's Talk Energy Power on Large Scale, we will be taking a very short break, about 15 minutes, and then we're going to be back talking about the virtual support app right here on Let's Talk Energy Power On.